So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about some of the common mistakes made by HR companies when it comes to their digital marketing. Now, the first of these, to be fair, could be levelled at pretty much any sector within professional services or B2B, but it seems particularly common within the HR sector, and that's a real absence of brand identity when it comes to the creation and distribution of content. And what I mean by this is a couple of things. So not only a clear sense of who they are, what their position is in the market, what their core competencies are, what their vision is, etc. Not only that, but also how all of that is then manifested from an aesthetic point of view and in terms of the language they use, the language that they don't use, the kind of influencers they engage with. There's just a real lack of thought given to the brands that they're trying to construct. And as a consequence, there tends to be just something quite generic about everything that then follows. So it's just so important to establish those foundations from a brand perspective. The second error we see is in terms of the actual the strategy given to their content activity, the framework given. All too often, people responsible for marketing within HR firms are just expected to create something out of thin air every month without reference to any kind of overarching strategy or framework. And not only is this really, not only does it tend to be not a very impactful way of working, but it's also really, really hard work. That idea that you just have to come up through sheer inspiration with a stroke of genius every month without a sense of kind of where it's going overall. And ultimately, even if you have a series of really successful kind of disparate activities, they're not connecting, they're not building an asset over time. The third error that we see is regarding influencer activity, or should I say the absence of influencer activity. So all too often, companies will try to just create all of their content themselves without engaging with the key influencers within their target market. So let's say they're targeting a particular sector or maybe a particular range of job titles. There will be people within that world who wield significant influence, and if you can engage with them, it's going to achieve a number of things. First of all, it's going to elevate the perception of the brand of your HR company itself. Secondly, you're going to capture the best content you could ever hope for, because by definition, these are the most insightful people in that space. Thirdly, it's going to increase the reach of your activity, because these people have not got to where they are today by underestimating the value of good self-promotion. And finally, it can be a great BD opportunity in itself, because you're meeting some fantastic people, you're opening some really interesting doors. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of other errors that we could talk about, but if a company is able to nail those three things, their brand identity, their content strategy, and their influencer engagement, everything thereafter across every channel, be it online and offline, is going to be not only so much more effective, but also so much easier.